Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Simon Misiewicz from Optimise, and good afternoon. It's weltering out there. I've been in the studio.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Oh, that was repeating. So I've been in the studio now for about 7 hours, and I feel that I've lost around about 4 stone in weight just by water itself. I feel a shell of the person I was before, and I'm feeling rather gaunt and dehydrated, which I've now got another bottle of water. This is my second one of these waters so far today. It's sweltering. So how is it with you guys? Is it nice and warm where you are? I hope it is. I hope it is. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. And I'm going to look down in a second to see the count of how many people are listening to me tonight. And I suspect it's going to be single digits. So here we go. Let's just have a look, see how many people are actually listening. Yes, indeed, 4 people. So that just goes to show you that the sunshine will beat anything else when it's nice and hot outside. People are going to be there. They're not going to be watching me. So hopefully this will be a good in terms of getting people to enjoy this program on a Monday night webinar, and hopefully it'll be more as we go into this session. Hopefully people watch it at a later date though, so that's always a positive. And so what I'm going to do is just share my screen as ever. So this is my Monday night webinar. Good evening and welcome to those 3-4 people listening. And for you that decide to enjoy the sun and watch me later, that's absolutely fine by me. Good evening to you as well, once it's cooled down just a tad. So let's say that this session is all about property investing. So if you've got any property investing questions, feel free to type those in right now, and I will be posting those on later on into advances. Equally, if you've got any property tax, then make sure you post those as well, and I will be on hand to go through those. But as ever, this is broken into different sections. The first section I'm going to cover is in the news. What are the newspapers talking about this week? All about buy-to-let property investing. I'm going to cover some of the stories that are going out at the minute and give you my views as well. Afterwards, I will always drop in the links below this video of the sources of that information so you can see for yourself. We're also going to cover some client FAQs. Some different questions have come out last week, which is a nice surprise for me because it means I've got to do some more work. But anyway, it's been enjoyable to read the questions that came out of last week. And I will be posting those questions to you. And I'll be doing FAQ as well, so open Q&A for you guys as well as our YouTube listeners. And since there's only 3, I suspect we'll be pretty quick tonight. So what I'm going to do in the first instance is just to have a look at what's in the news. I'm going to share a different screen with you now, so just bear with me in 1 second while I do that. I'm going to go to new screen and Google. Here we go. All right. So what we're going to do is cover off in the news. So what's in the news? What's being said in the press? Well, again, this week it's rather positive. This is the 5th week in a row. So I rather suspect that we're seeing the back end of the negative stories and all the kind of we should all sell up, otherwise it's Armageddon and the world would end. I don't think it will. I think we will continue just like it's ever. Just a bit like the millennial bug, the year 2000. Can anyone remember that? No? That's because nothing happened. I would probably be saying the same about Brexit. What was this Brexit thing? I don't know. It just happened and it went again. I rather suspect that's going to be the case as well. But that's just my opinion. What's your opinion on Brexit? Are we finding ourselves with the next millennial bug, which never happened and nothing really changed? And actually, we looked up at the sky and things didn't fall out of it and torpedo into buildings, scraping down the kind of the buildings that we live in, and ruptures of kind of earthquakes and tornadoes sweeping the nation because of Brexit. Are you seeing any of this, or are we just sitting here going, what the heck is going on? Anyway, I'd love to hear your kind of views on that. So type in your comments to talk to me about how you're feeling about the millennial bug. Oh, sorry. Brexit. So let's talk about what is in the press anyway. The Times, we're going to start with that. What's next for buy-to-let landlords? A great catchy title for the Times. By the way, that comment wasn't said because I just thought, well, that's a great title for the Times. That wasn't a case of, well, normally they produce really shocking titles. That's not what I'm saying here. So don't worry, it's not because I'm trying to slate the paper, it's just because I thought it was a genuine catchy title. Anyway, they cited Hampton saying that 146,000 landlords have sold and left the buy-to-let sector. Now, I said that this was going to be a positive story, didn't I? Yes, I did, but there are a few starters that we need to read out to you anyway. They're saying the sell-off was there, but they're saying that there should be another bigger sell-off, but for Brexit. So how much more properties would have been sold if Brexit wasn't around? And that's, I think, maybe that's a good story, actually, to say that maybe, just maybe, because people are fearing for Brexit and they're not buying properties, does that mean that landlords are trying to sell their properties but unable to do so? And would that therefore increase as the Brexit fears diminish? Who knows? But I do think it's an interesting one. What was more interesting about this article was the supply of new rental homes have dropped for the 20th consecutive month, whilst, so property supply has gone down, whilst they're saying that demand for properties has gone up. So go figure, the demand and the supply is back on a good keel for you, the landlord, the property professional, because you, I should say, the professional property investor that wishes to house tenants, you're going to be in a good position because the demand is going up and the supply is going down. So go figure. I think we're in a great market. What do you think? Do you think we're in a good market? Again, please feel free to type in the comments box below. Yes, below this video. And I'll be happy to reply and maybe have a conversation with you about what we think is going to happen. But a great story that I thought in the Times. The Multiple, it's one of those websites that's always against buy-to-let property investing. And even when they publish a positive story about buy-to-let investing, they can't help but dig in with a nice comment about, well, I think you should buy shares instead. So they kind of give us the into one hand, but then they hit you with the other side. But this is an interesting one whereby they talk about, again, Hamptons has been cited. Hamptons must be producing some fantastic material at the minute. But they're saying, you know, so 12% of rental homes in Britain are let out by a company. Note the trend that professional property investors are moving towards the company structure than buying in their own name. And we've had these conversations about, should you buy in a limited company or should you buy in your own name? I did a video on this in our YouTube channel, so it might be worth you taking a look at that. In fact, let me just have a look to see if I can grab that. So let's just type in section, oh crikey, this is where my typing goes all to cock when I'm trying to be helpful. So there we are. So we did a video, should you use a property limited company due to section 24. Watch that video, really interesting insights to what we had to say on that. And then we move over to another story by Best Advice, and they saying Canada Life enhances buy-to-let later life offering. What this is saying is that people are getting older, and for the terms of the what do you call that word? I'm trying to think of it when you carry on. Anyway, I can't get my words out for some reason. Maybe they're just sweltered by the heat and just melted and evaporated to the thin air. But my words are disappearing as quickly as my sanity. But this story talks about the annualized rates for Canada Life buy-to-let investment is going down. But what was more important in this particular article is that the age of the landlord that they're investing to, they are looking to increase that to a certain age. And they were pretty much citing here for customers over 80. So we're living longer and we're investing for longer. So no longer, oh, have I used that word 3 times now? Please stop it. But if we are living longer, and we might be able to then carry on investing, that's not a bad thing. So I'm pleased to hear that mortgage providers are now saying, well, we'll give you these loans for as long as you live, pretty much, and they will probably be handed over. And by association, again, I keep saying how these guys write really good articles. I'm enjoying their articles. So if you are ever listening in to this, Samantha Taylor, you do some great work. Keep it up. Well done, ka-ching. It's been very helpful for me just to understand what's going on. And in this particular thing, they said being over 60 no longer limits buy-to-let property investing. So it echoes the previous story. And again, they talk about borrowing limits. There we go, in the 60s and 70s, and that's by the Mortgage Works, part of National Building Society. To be fair, I never knew that GMW was part of National Building Society, but there you go figure. So yeah, more reasons to carry on investing even into retirement. And doesn't it make sense? Because let's be fair, the state pension that we have from the government when we come into retirement is worth billions. No. Anyway, so having a buy-to-let property investing would be the most suitable retirement plan that you could have. So not a bad idea at all. And here's one by The Mortgage Strategy. Now, I've met Lynn Sims before, and I'm not sure when, but she talks about buy-to-let watch improvements in buy-to-let. And I think that's to do, which was really interesting, and this was aimed at both advisors and for the investors, in which to speed up the process. Now, she wrote a very good article about streamlining processes. I have a torrid time with mortgage brokers, and indeed other professions, to be fair, the same way, whereby they feed you information, say, well, here's a form, here's a form, here's a form, here's a form. And actually, if they supplied all the forms together, maybe we would have this sense of overwhelm. But if you had a checklist at the top that says, do this, and then do this, and try and get through it as quickly as possible, then at least you've got a plan of attack. And pretty much what Liz is saying is the same thing, is, look, you know, try and work with your clients to get things done faster. So it's a great article about the delays. I've been, unfortunately, part of that mechanical wheel, especially when solicitors will not use email to get things done, which I think in this day and age is a crying shame. Here's another one, Letting Agent Today. Again, a very, very good website, produced fantastic articles. So thank you so much for that. But they said 1 in 8 buy-to-let is run by a company, says Countrywide. And again, some 12% of buy-to-lets are now owned by a company structure. So we are seeing this now. And I rather suspect once Brexit has been lifted, we'll find that the world is a sunny place after all. And that the amateur landlords, the ones that have got 1 or 2 properties, didn't really want to be a property investor. They were happy to be a landlord, and actually it was a thing they did. It wasn't really something that they wanted to really get into. It was just like, well, everyone does property in the 80s and 90s, don't they? Well, let's just buy the property. I think those guys are going to disappear. And we will see an increase, I think, in terms of the number of property investors using limited companies. And again, going back to my previous video of should you use a limited company, please do watch that, because there are many, many times when I've said to people, do not use a limited company. So albeit we've just seen this trend of using limited companies, I am not saying that is the be-all and end-all. So there'll be a lot of people applauding me. Hurrah, well done. For making that comment, because I think people are rushing into limited company structures. We can't forget that having a buy-to-let mortgage inside a limited company is still more expensive than a buy-to-let mortgage in your own personal name. So do bear that in mind. One article by Property Reporter talks about buy-to-let rates cut by Skipton. So yet again, another buy-to-let company reducing its rates. And this time we're seeing Skipton with rates of 1.92%, 1.99%. So there are rates that are coming down again, and I feel that these rates will be even lower. Now, I don't know how these banks make money at these rates, but anyway, we will soon find out. And if I haven't said it already, but Buy Station, this time by Eleanor Harvey, brilliant article, well done. Buy-to-let yields are rising faster than house prices across the UK. We've already talked about the fact that demand is still there, but the supply of properties is down. And pretty much they were talking about, yes, or in London, the demand is getting even higher as people do sell their properties in London. House prices in London are coming down, that's a fact, but rent yields are actually going up. So here's an interesting trend, isn't it? When will it stop? It's just house prices going down. There will be a correction at some point in the future. I'm not saying when that will be, but if demand keeps going up the way it does, investors will have to come back to the market to supply that demand. But a very good article talking about those conditions in terms of those areas. So it's interesting use of words as well. Committed investors could see opportunities. And that is all I'm going to say on that. Make sure you read the article. I will leave the source of all these articles in the box below, by the way. We've got another one by the Property Wire, pretty much consistent. It seems to be the majority of articles that I kind of communicate out are pretty much all of these ones I'm sharing with you. Not the specific articles, but actually the company who runs them. But it's good to see it, to be fair. I'm just going to get rid of this. It's really annoying on some. I love SEMrush, but I don't like the way that they do the AdSense. Let's remove that. So let's talk about what this article was about. Average new rent, let rent up by 3% in year to June 2019. See the same trend? It's almost like they're writing it for SEO purposes. So this is pretty much the same thing as the previous article, that rents are increasing, maybe more in London, but outside of London, if this article also cites that there is an increase, we are seeing in the Midlands more than 0.9%, as it is suggested in this article. We're seeing 5–6% rental increase. And I wonder if it's because it's the type of property we hold which allows us to charge even more rent. I'm not sure about that. I don't have my own records against the generic kind of landlords and what properties they have, but we are seeing even more of a rent increase in the area. So that's pretty much it in terms of the in the news. So hopefully you found that useful. Now I've managed to delete myself and I can't get myself back. So that's a shocker, to say the least. So let's just have a look, see if I can get myself back, just so I can see the screen. That's not good, is it, really? The fact that I've just got rid of my screen. Anyway, we'll move on to that. And what I'm going to try and do now is I am going to, this is my webinar, it's a poor, shocking thing. So I've got 9 people. Hey, we're increasing. The sun's going down. People are coming in the house. Hello, good evening. So yes, so I'm pleased to see you. It's good to see that there's questions as well. Umang Patel, great to see you, matey. I saw you last week as well, so it's good to see you back. I will come to questions later on, by the way, so do hold your fire. Well, don't hold your fire, type in those questions, and I definitely will be answering those. So pleased to see that there's more people joining me right now. If you're finding this video useful, by the way, please press the thumb like. Just say, you know, that you are enjoying the session, even if it's for my anecdotes, my jokes, and facial expressions, then please give me a like. That would be fantastically appreciated. I did say it's hot, right? I mean, this room is now, what, 45 degrees, it feels. So I'm struggling, but I will fight through just for you. So let's go for another share of my screen. I'm going to take to my Word document now. Here we go. Here we go. So my Word document's just crashed. Why did that happen? Hopefully you can see my screen because it looks like it just disappeared on me for some reason. So I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, I can see. Right, good. So I'm going to take you through this document, which is the client FAQ. So these are questions that our clients have posted in the last 7 days. I'm going to share with you, not the questions and specifics, but I'm going to share with you the generic kind of questions and then some of the answers that we put in there. And you'll see that there's a lot of questions. The first question was around flipping properties. That's not a swear word. That's not flipping property. Now, I'm talking about just flipping properties, okay? As in, you buy a property and you sell one. That's what I'm saying, okay? So hopefully I've dug myself out of that hole with a shovel and we can continue. So flipping properties. So if you flip a property in your own name, please note that you will not be subject to capital gains tax as our client thought. You are going to be subject to income tax. So income tax being 20% for basic rate taxpayer, 40% for high rate taxpayer, and finally 45% for the additional rate taxpayer. Not only that, but you've also got this stealth national insurance charge on any profits you make as well, which will be 9% for people that are basic rate taxpayers and 2% for the high rate and additional rate taxpayers. So the thing I would say to you here is it may be better, rather than being taxed at 40–45% on the profits you make, you may be better to use a limited company. And the reason for that is because you could make £100,000 worth of profit, 17% tax in April 2020 and beyond. That means April 2020, which means you've got £17,000 worth of tax. You're left with £83,000, and you could distribute that via dividends, or you could close down the company and benefit from the 10% entrepreneurs relief tax, which you do have to now be cautioned by the use of limited companies, whereby you set one company up and then you close it down after you've done the deal, as in the flip, and you close the company down, take the money out. Oh, unfortunately, HMRC always find a way to get us. And this new way is TAR, which stands for Targeted Anti-Avoidance Rules. I've to use abuse rules, but that's GAR, which is General Anti-Abuse Rules. Oh, it's a struggle today. It's really hot. I have to say, it's really hot where I am. So where you've got this TAR issue, it prevents you from opening and closing companies in quick succession. So we would suggest that you keep a limited company for at least 3 years. You do as many flips as you want inside that one limited company, and then you close it down. If you're not that bothered about entrepreneurs relief, which I'm not, to be fair, because I'd rather keep using my money for investment purposes, then you might want to consider using a holding company structure. So you have a holding company, and then that holds individual SPVs to do your flips, and the money then goes up tax-free to the holding company, and then you could extract that money from your holding company as and when you need it, or that holding company can simply reinvest into SP456, etc. So do bear that in mind about flipping properties. It is not capital gains tax, unfortunately, like our client had thought. It will be subject to income tax. Here's a really interesting one. This resurfaced, and it was something I got giddy with excitement for maybe 3–4 months ago, when someone said, well, I'm looking to buy a company which holds buy-to-let property investments. I thought, whoa, this is brilliant, because if you buy a property worth £800,000, for instance, you would pay about £54,000 worth of SDLT, which I'm hoping you can see on my screen here. So you'll be paying a shed load of SDLT, but wait for it here. Okay. In fact, let me just get the suspense going. I'm going to add to the suspense by having a drink, but you've probably already seen it. So the suspension is killed, isn't it? Because you can see my notes, which it clearly says underneath it, 1,500 stamp duty. But I'm going to come back to it anyway. And I've just noticed a spider crying at my wall. Anyway, so we've got this £800,000 property value. Let's imagine this is the limited company now. It's got £500,000 worth of mortgages, £300,000 net value. The stamp duty on that net value would be 1,500 because it's 0.5%. So it's significantly less stamp duty to buy the limited company which owns the property investments, rather than buying the property investments inside, out, as in to buy the properties from that limited company. Okay, makes sense? So buy the company, pay the stamp duty, not buy the properties outside the limited company, and you save yourself a shed load of cash. So something for you to bear in mind. How many people are looking to buy properties inside a limited company? So one of the things you can do before you answer, or you can answer whilst we're going along, is go onto Companies House and then put in the SIC code 82809 or whatever the number is. I can't remember now. It's too hot. But if you look at the SIC code inside Companies House, which is buy-to-let investments, you might find people that are looking to sell property. So rather than going on Rightmove to find a property, why not speak to the owners of the limited companies to find out if they want to sell their company, as opposed to you buying a property from Rightmove? Just a thought. Just a thought. Give it a go. One client has already done it, and that's why this came up, to be honest. Capital gains tax. This keeps coming up, so I'm going to have to reiterate it. Capital gains tax is a tax that you have if you've got a buy-to-let property investment in your own name, you've rented it out, you will pay capital gains tax, which is the difference between the sales price, the purchase price, and any capital items. Interestingly enough, I did a video today, which will be released in maybe 2-3 weeks. We talk about the 7 mistakes of people, of buy-to-let property investor landlords, mouthful, where they pay too much CGT. And one of them is whereby they're working with their accountant, and the accountant has said, well, we don't believe this particular cost should be against your income, your property income. What we feel it should be is capital. So they say it's capital, but then there's no one tracking that cost to say, well, when we sold the property, have we taken that capitalized cost into consideration? And that's one of the big blunders that I see a lot of landlords making, is that they completely forget the computations of CGT and getting it right. So they end up paying too much CGT. Don't forget, you've got annual CGT allowance of £12,000. So if you're a couple, make sure that you get some tax advice before you sell a property to make sure that you allocate the property sufficiently to utilize both annual CGT allowances, but you also do it in a split that is better value for you. So because sometimes you might have a high rate taxpayer, so they should have a lower percentage ownership of the property versus the basic rate taxpayer, who should have a higher proportion of the ownership. And you could do that via deed of trust, by the way, and you could do that pretty much a couple of days or even the day of sale to get things moving for you. A couple of things about private residency relief. I'm not going to do this too much because I've kind of covered it off in previous, but from April next year, which is about April 2020, private residency relief will be slashed from 18 months to 9 months. Lettings relief, which for me is technically scrapped, so you'll end up having to pay more CGT. So you are best advised, if you've got some dogs in your property portfolio that are barking mad with losses, you are better to sell those and throw it a bone. Okay, I think I've done with the dog analogy. Yeah, let's move on. So that, I would say, is the thing. You could use also investments in SEIS, EIS, VCTs, whatever acronyms are out there. You don't have to pay CGT if you use some other investment products. So make sure you speak to your wealth advisor about that as well. The one thing I did pick up on was CGT on divorce. I'm not sure why I've not copied it into my section here, but it's true. If you are divorcing, you need to make sure that you sell the properties or you transfer the property between you before the absolute comes in. You need to do it as you go through the decree nisi or something like that, before it's finalized and you've moved out. The reason for that is if you do everything before that final document, then there's there's transfers between husband and wife, no capital gains tax, no SDLT. As soon as you're divorced and then you do transfers, oh, nightmare. You've then got SDLT surcharges, you've got SDLT charges itself, you've got CGT to worry about. It becomes a nightmare. So make sure when you're going through a divorce that you speak to a tax specialist as well as a solicitor. And finally, I'm coming into finally, I'm already at 7:30. I thought I was going to be ages on these questions and observations, and I've flown through it. And I think the reason why I've flown through it is because I'm sticking to my chair and I want to get off this chair as quickly as possible. But anyway, the deal sourcing fee. So this client had income from deal sourcing. He wanted to see how much he can earn. And ultimately what's happening is that he's going to use a limited company. Again, if he got £50,000 worth of income from deal sourcing as a high rate taxpayer, that would be subject to 40% tax, which would be £20,000 plus £1,000 worth of national insurance because it's a trade and therefore subject to both income tax and national insurance, which is a lot of money to pay out really, especially when this particular person did not need the money. They're going to use the deal sourcing income to then invest inside of a company. What a waste of time. So we advise that they should set up a limited company, take the money of £50,000, pay the $8,500 corporation tax, which is significantly less than they was going to, and then that's $41,500, which is left, and they could invest that into more deals themselves, or they could extract it when they needed it from dividends tax. Oh, there's my dividend. There's my capital gains tax thing, by the way. I'll finish this bit off. So you can either invest the money in the company to get new deals yourself, or you can extract some money out of the limited company, but you are only taxed when you extract the money. So you're not taxed at the full rate of income tax like you are if that income was deemed to be self-employment income. So make sure that you take some tax advice before you start a new activity. Which structure should I have it in? Should I start it in my own name or should I have it in a limited company? And it's one way to pay way too much tax because you haven't structured things correctly. What else we got? We are up to 11 people watching, people. This is double digits time. And it's so hot out there. Thank you ever so much, because I would rather be in the garden. Why not in the garden? Anyway, I'm not in the garden. I'm here with you, and I'm hoping to give you such great value. And thank you ever so much for getting me to double digits, because I was going to go and finish after this and cry in the corner. Oh, it's already got someone crying in the corner. I'm not going to go there. I'll leave them there. Anyway, let's think about any other. No, that's it. So yes, so I've covered the divorce thing already. Okay, so let's have a look at the questions. So that's stage 2 done. So I'm just going to give you a new share now. So let me have a look what's going on. So yes, client FAQ done, dusted. Thank you very much. Have you found any of that useful, guys? Which bit is the key highlight? What have you learned? And interesting enough, if this was good, again, hi, give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. For the 11 people that are here, please give me a thumbs up. It'd be fantastic. I really want my stats for this YouTube to grow, and only you can help me do that. So please, 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 if I'm going to do this every Monday, all I ask is to give me a like. So yeah, that'd be really helpful. Thank you ever so much for doing that. And the next session is really not before, I'm not going to disappear right now, that's what that says, but I'm going to stay around now and do your questions. So I'm going to do that now, and it's going to stop. I'm going to do a stop share. Let me stop the share right now. Okay. Hi. So let's do your questions then. Let's see what's been popping up, and hopefully we can get some answers here. So Yumang said, is there any way to finance a car not mileage via a buy-to-let portfolio? Well, you can have a company structure or your property portfolio that's in your name to finance that car. But in all honesty, in everything walk of life I've ever seen, it's always best to charge your company mileage. It really is. I've been doing this now for 15 years, trying to work out different ways. And because of the HMRC's kind of saying, well, you can proportion the value of the car, and you can do that, 10%, but then they scrutinize your percentages and really nail that down to the coffin. And you think you can offset 10%, but then they do an investigation. They watch you, by the way, they will follow you. And they will say, well, actually, based on everything we saw you do, we think it's 2%. And you've been doing this for how many years? So we want this amount tax back. Thank you very much. Not nice. So really, I would say just do mileage. Okay, and charge your company 45p per mile. If you've got extra passengers, then you get this extra, woohoo, 5 pence extra allowance. So if you've got yourself plus 2 passengers, yes, you've guessed it, you can charge 55p per mile. All right, it's not the biggest thing since I've read, but anyway, Yummy, great name, Yummy. It said, how many buy-to-let properties should one hold in a portfolio before starting a new company to hold future properties for tax and legal purposes? I mean, it doesn't matter about the number of properties, I have to be honest. It's more to do with the financial returns. I've often said this to people, actually. Why have 6 properties that yield no money at all, and compared to having 1 property in your name that gives you £12,000 worth of profit? You'll know what I mean here, right? How many times do people go to a property investing kind of course or networking event and say, I'm looking to buy 10 properties? You think, well, actually, I'm looking to buy 1 property that gives me the same kind of profit as your 10. I'd rather do that, okay? So it's not based on the number of properties. It's more to do with the actual, the financials. So you do get some tax advice on that. Again, I did do this video whereby I talked about should you use a limited company structure because Section 24. So feel free to kind of dive into that. I'm just going to see if I can do a quick shave. I'll do a quick shave. It's gone. So let's do a quick shower. Really can't get my words out here. Okay, so let's just go to that. So hopefully you can see the screen. Oh my gosh, what's going on? So hopefully you can see my screen here. And this particular video talks about should you use a limited company because of Section 24. So do watch that video if you're ever interested. I think that will be a great thing for you to do. Okay, let's just get rid of that share and let's get back. So good question, Yummy. Anyway, next one is Steve Smith. Hi, Steve. He's asked a question saying, hi, I have a question regarding ownership structure. I'm a high rate taxpayer and my wife is a low rate taxpayer. Does general partnership potential tax advantages? How would legally general compare to LLP? By the way, I don't like LLPs, full stop. So please don't ask those questions. Anyone else? There are a lot of things about using bits, which, by the way, are nailed to the coffin because of HMRC's GAR ruling. So anyone talk about LLPs and company as a partnership, don't use those. Just check out HMRC GAR document that was released in October 2018 that fundamentally says that that is a waste of time because we're going to say that income is deemed to be your personal income. So waste of time. So I would say if you're a high rate taxpayer, basic rate taxpayer in situ, well, maybe you, instead of setting up a company at all, Steve, do think about allocating income from you, or if the other person's a high rate taxpayer, to the person who's a basic rate taxpayer using a deed of trust in Form 17. We've got an article on that, and do I have a video on that? I'm not sure. Let's have a look, shall we? In fact, I've quite an, it's not worked. So let's just have a look. Form 17. No, I don't. Unfortunately, I thought I did. I think I deleted that video. But have a look at our website. We do promote the facts that you can do a deed of trust using Form 17 and just reallocate some of the income. There are some pitfalls around SDLT and debt, so do get some good tax advice before you do that. It can be a costly mistake. So just check that out. Yummy has come back. Said, are there any tax advantages using LLP? Yeah, you've already typed that in before I kind of said, don't ask me about LLPs. But there are a lot of people asking about LLPs. What is going on, people? So I've got a need to letting company. A need to letting company. I like that phone name. I like it a lot. So the question was, if I do a PLO with a LL of an expense London house, wow. Any more acronyms you could throw in there? You're as bad as me with this. So you could repay their mortgage payments for them. Will it mitigate their Section 24 exposure? No. If you've got a landlord that you're doing a rent-to-rent on or subletting or anything like that, ultimately they will still be subject to Section 24. We are going to find, and in fact, some of our clients have had a major impact on this, where they've got rent-to-rent deals contractually done and dusted. But what's happened, and we're up to 14 people, 14, this is brilliant. Thank you ever so much. I don't know what's going on. I was only at 3 when I first started, but now we're at 14. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So where was I? Oh, yes. So we had a particular client that had this issue where they've got a rent-to-rent contract in place. Please note the word contract with a landlord. Okay. Now they don't want to be a landlord. It's client related that they want to use our client. And our client did this rent-to-rent structure, and what they agreed was they would do rent-to-rent. Section 24 came in, and the landlord said, oh, no, I'm going to get rid of them. Sold the properties, and then our client, was then being whacked with the fact that they've got these properties, they've invested so much money into them, but all of a sudden they have no properties. So they've invested lots of money inside these properties to make them look nice, to do a rent-to-rent, and the guy sold them. And there was nothing that the court would do. They just said, well, he is entitled to sell those properties. The fact that you've got a contract, that's by the by. The initial contract is him being the landlord. He has the right, and the contract is just superfluous. So go figure. So do be careful with all those things. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much covered. Any other questions that you've got, please type them in now, because I have run out of steam. I've got to be honest with you. So is there any other questions? Just running through there. Okay, whilst you're typing your final questions, don't forget that we will, of course, let me just have a look. In fact, what I said I was going to do, and I didn't. Big announcement. Okay, stay tuned for this. I want you to stay tuned. I don't know why I've got this on. We have now got to 1,000 subscribers. That's right, 1,000 subscribers. So thank you ever so much for that. In fact, we're up to about 1,014, 15 or something like that. When we got to that 1,000 subscribers, I was going to do something big. And that big was to give you free tax workshop live for 2 hours. And what we're going to try and do is find out what people really want to know. So we're going to assemble, sorry, that's not the Avengers assemble, that's just assemble some of the tax questions that you have got for me to write a unique set of tax notes which you might find useful, and then I would do a live tax workshop right here on YouTube, which will cover about 2 hours, because I think after that people are going to fall asleep. In this heat, by the way, you're probably a lot good that you're lasted an hour. In fact, I'd be interested to know how many of you have actually fallen asleep because of the heat. But yes, I'm going to do a tax workshop to say thank you. Thank you to get us to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm going to do a 2-hour workshop. I'm going to make the announcement of the date, but it will be in sometime in September time. So I know it's a long way, but people are on holiday right now, so it's going to suck really badly if I try and do the workshop beforehand. But do type in your questions of the kind of tax stuff you would like to learn from me in that workshop. So feel free to put your comments below here of the questions that you might have, or some of the tax stuff that you would like me to provide as education in this 2-hour free tax workshop for you YouTube listeners to say thank you for the 1,000 subscribers. So that's pretty much me done for tonight. Oh, we've got a couple of more questions. So I will take these questions. So Yami said, what classified a company as a property business rather than an investment company for tax purposes? If you are flipping properties, Yami, then that will be a trade business. If you've got buy-to-let properties that you are out there to rent out, that will be an investment business. So trade, selling out, start with buy, sell. Investment is buy, rent out. That's kind of as simple as I can go. Your mind's asked the question, does an estate agent account as an extension of the work as a director? May do in a letting business if ref converting letting to a partnership limited. If you're saying, well, I want to incorporate at some point in the future, using a letting agent is a no-no because it won't be deemed to be a business. So you can't use letting agents. You have to be the letting agent. You could use letting agents though for tenant finding, but that's about all. Otherwise, you're going to have to take it on the chin. So let's have a look. So that's been a good set of questions, by the way. And again, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. 1,000 subscribers. I'm tickled pink. I'm tickled pink because of the heat in this room, I have to be honest, but I'm tickled pink because we've got 1,000 subscribers. So thank you ever so much for that. And I will see you again next Monday. Yeah, I'll see you next Monday. Don't forget this Thursday, we've got a new video. I'm just going to go into resume share. Oh, no, I've screwed up. So I'm going to just quickly show you what we've got coming up this Thursday in terms of the new video, by the way. So do watch out for this video. Let me just have a look. Blah, blah, blah. You can see 1034. So what have I got this week? Oh, it's not showing. Oh, set reminder, 25th of July. That is this Thursday. And it says how to buy the right buy-to-let property investment. And inside of that, I'm not going to go on, but I've created you a due diligence spreadsheet enabling you to buy the right property investment. That is coming out in 2 days' time. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And I will be giving a free spreadsheet for that for you to buy the right property, as I say. But again, thank you ever so much. See you again next week. My name is Simon Misiewicz from Optimise Accountants, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Enjoy the sun. Make sure you apply sun cream and drink plenty of water. Thank you.